he is, and I'll explain that. We had a kinship, not a lot of two, and say, well, they don't have a lot in common. I guess you could look at those two and say the same thing. But nonetheless, and then by the way, two other things I want to caveat. So, Gene, next time you don't want to be funny, try to be funny. And I didn't know that. Good thing we didn't tell Forrest this was a roast instead of a toast, because that breakfast tomorrow would have been totally off. Anyway. Is this part of my 2 minutes? Is this kind of, I have to clean up all your messes. I'm just cleaning through your values still. I mean, this is all going to be done in I think this was 15 minutes you have allocated for Coast. So yeah, 15 minutes. Almost done. Okay. Okay, right. Kinship. Corey and I, what do we have in common? Well, two things. One, we like to drink beer. And two, the same girls didn't like us. So that was what we had in common. That was good. But one day he was really kind of frustrated because our group has kind of lacked, kind of an easygoing group, sort of funny. And he says, Dave, this is great and all, but you can't just spend your whole life telling beaver jokes. And years later, here we have it, right? And of course, John stole my thunder on this one. I was going to beaver dance, but that's fine in the introduction. I didn't realize I had that constraint. Anyway, so that. Say about that? Let's see here, beaver jokes, can't go. So one more thing about this. It turns out at Grinnell, and the younger crowd doesn't know this, but the way we used to haze students was we would load them up with narcotics and then feed them unreasonably big liverwurst sandwiches. And Corey was one of the last people to do this, because I later found out that that's just like lunchtime for Rush Limbaugh. And so, okay, same Rush Limbaugh fans here? Anyway, so sorry about that. All right, so that's that's basically me in college, and we go away, and that's that. So he's got these guys over here. So he moves into New Epoch, where he's essentially the big man on campus. He's playing Hamlet. He sends me letters. This is pre-email day, so he'd send me letters, and they sounded sort of like fantasy letters. Like this is like if I was like a fantasy actor, this is what my life would be like. I was like, wow, you got a great life going on there. And actually, since then, he said we used to exchange letters quite a bit, and he says, we exchange emails on an infrequent and irregular basis now, but it's almost like when we exchanged letters, we shared more of ourselves. And I think if there's any nostalgia I want to say, I think it's sharing a little bit more in those letters is something I really miss. But otherwise, I'll get to the next part. But anyway, so he was a big man on campus. I guess he used to go to the bar and he got a few too many drinks, and the young guy said he would tell us Corey's wild years story, a la Tom Waits. So that was he doesn't remember this, so I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. Then there's this next epoch he goes into, which he produces a couple things. He produces Forrest and Ingrid, who are two of the most beautiful kids that I'm not sure where they are. Yeah, they are. Two of the most beautiful kids you will ever meet, and I mean beautiful in every sense of that word. And he also, we spotted his beard. We noticed he was growing a beard, and he served as the officiant at our wedding. So he helped me to get married. In fact, the yam ceremony that you witnessed today, some form of that happened years back at my wedding. And so Corey was really the spearhead of that. So he's been a very dear and important part of my life. And I think as we move into what is this? What am I? Let's see here. I have 2 minutes, right?
I believe it's the third epoch.
Before current epoch. Now I got Forrest and Ingrid. Now I get Catherine. Oh, right. So the Catherine thing. And it's all very perplexing to us because, as I said, on the email we don't share anything. So it was about 4.5 years into the relationship that we found out he was dating her. And then she's a Michigan fan on top of it. It's like, well, which was kind of a blow to us. But nonetheless, Catherine is an extraordinary woman, and again, in the same sense, and every possible good meaning of the word extraordinary. And really, I really couldn't be happier that Corey and Catherine have come to this point. And I will say, Corey, that the only thing better than telling beaver jokes your whole life is having a woman wake up to you next to you every morning who laughs at them. So with
Brilliant.
that, I will conclude the 15 minutes of toasting and raise my glass to Corey and Catherine and say thank you to Frenchie and Pierogi Jim and Chrissy Buzzsaw and all the other wonderful folks who have made this happen.
I think Dave needs a cigarette.
All right, now
Nice
is the
work,
time for
Dave.
the costume change. I'm going to give a